edition of Bet. I'm Anita Marks, your host. Tyler Fulghum is going to join us from Las Vegas. We have Adam Teicher, also who's going to join us on the show. Kansas City. Man, what's going on with Mahomes in that ankle? We'll have an update from Adam. Ben Beatty's going to join us on the show. A little update with the Cincinnati Bengals and their win against the Buffalo Bills. And of course, Tim McManus is going to join us with an Eagles update as well. But let's bring in the man of the hour from Las Vegas. Tyler, how you doing?
Doing well, Anita. I had the Bengals, I had the Niners, so a much better Sunday than Saturday. And I think the NFL got it right with the Final Four. I think these are truly the four best teams left that we saw all season long.
Yeah, I did well. I would have done great if the Giants would have covered, but they fell far from that. But we're going to get into all the matchups coming up as well. But as always, we like to start with reaction or no action on Monday afternoons. Here you go. The Bengals win outright against the Kansas City Chiefs. Reaction or no action, Tyler?
Reaction, baby, reaction. Even if Patrick Mahomes had a healthy ankle, I still think the Cincinnati Bengals would have been a very live underdog. What do we know about this matchup since Joe Burrow's been in Cincinnati? If Patrick Mahomes has any kryptonite in this NFL, it is the Bengals and it is Joe Burrow. Burrow undefeated, 3-0 last year, playoffs, this year, regular season. And here's another matchup on the road where they're a slight underdog. And especially with Mahomes' ankle concerns, I think Cincinnati can win this game outright. Lou Anarumo's defense does a tremendous job against Patrick Mahomes, and he has yet to prove, as great as he is, he's the best playmaker at quarterback in the NFL, the best player, the most dynamic offensive weapon maybe the game has ever seen. But he's not 100%, and for whatever reason, Joe Burrow just keeps beating him head-to-head time and time again. So reaction for me, I think Cincinnati is the hottest, best team in the AFC right now.
Yeah, Tyler, you know me. I've been on these big cats for over a month now, possibly two. So I'm with you. Reaction here for me. Joe Burrow has been magnificent, right? 242 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And there was such big concern heading into that game this past weekend with him, another offensive lineman, Jonah Williams, being down. But it was next man up. And Joe Burrow's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL in getting rid of the ball quickly. Under 2.5 seconds. He reads defenses extremely well. He's extremely accurate. And I love Jamar Chase in this matchup. 3 games against the Bills. Jamar Chase has put up over 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. I think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. And you talk about the defense. Hendrickson was great. That defense was great, pressuring Josh Allen 17 times. And, of course, we saw him throw a pick. And if Patrick Mahomes is not 100%, that Bengals defense is going to get after him. Here you go. Question number 2. The Niners and the Eagles will go over their total, and it's right now at 45.5. Reaction or no action?
I'm going to say no action. I mean, just from a pure entertainment standpoint, with all those weapons on both sides, I hope it goes over because that'll be fun football to watch. But I think of how great both of these defenses are. The Philadelphia Eagles have the best pass rush in the entire NFL. 4 guys had 10-plus sacks this season. They're healthy, and they're capable. They got a couple of good corners in Bradbury and Slay. Their defense is really solid. And the Niners have maybe the best, most physical defense in the entire National Football League. Look what they did to Dak Prescott 1 week after shredding the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and looking like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Prescott looked like he was seeing ghosts against the 49ers. Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, D'Amico Ryans is just an awesome defensive coordinator, play caller, and schemer. So I look at these two defenses kind of like what we saw in the 49ers-Dallas game, stealing the show at the line of scrimmage, and this game going under. Even though I want to see it over, right now I lean to this one staying under 45.5.
Yeah, I'm with you. No action here for me as well. And for all those reasons you mentioned, right? San Francisco, the 49ers, best defense against opposing tight ends. And what did we see in the Philadelphia Eagles game? Dallas Goedert really be a big factor. So I think he's going to have a tough time against the 49ers. Also, Christian McCaffrey, if you recall, we saw a lot of Elijah Mitchell at the end of that game for the 49ers. Why? C-Mac dealing with a calf issue. So as much of attention we're going to be paying to Mahomes in his ankle, I think we need to pay attention as well to McCaffrey and what's going on with his calf. And we're talking about a rookie quarterback. He showed his spots this past week against Dallas, right? And this is an Eagles defense. They're excellent against the pass. Give this, Tyler. Not one quarterback has passed for more than 200 yards against them in 7 straight games. So I think it's going to be tough sledding for Brock Purdy and that 49ers offense as well. So no action there for me. Last question, and that is Rory is going to win a major this year. Finally, it's been a 10-year drought. Is this the year? Wins a major on the PGA Tour. You can get it at plus 230. Reaction or no action?
I want to be wrong about this one as well, Anita, but I'm going to say no action, especially at that price. I mean, it is hard to win a major, obviously. That's why Rory, as great as he is on this major drought. If you were giving me like 7, 8, 9, 10 to 1, yeah, I might take that bet, but at plus 230, that's no action for me. Of course, Rory's one of the best in any tournament he tees it up in, and he can win. I just do not like the odds associated with having a reaction to this bet and going to the window. So, again, I want to be wrong. I'm a big Rory fan. I want to see him break that drought and add another major. Golf is always better when the biggest stars are contending at majors on a Sunday. But for me, at this price, it's a no action.
I'm going reaction here. And I like that it's at plus 230. And there's a reason why he's favored. Let's be honest. He is, well, as of right now, what we've seen Jon Rahm do the last few weeks, winning 4 of his last 6 tournaments that he's teed up in, you can make an argument. But I like where the majors are this season, right? Like, so as we know, Rory is desperate to win the Masters to get that, to win all 4 of those majors, right? So that's first and foremost. I think he's going to be competitive there. Oak Hill definitely sets up to his game extremely well. In Liverpool, he won back in 2014. So where the majors are this season, his motivation to finally win in Augusta, I've got reaction here. I'm going to play it. And talking about golf, we've got the Farmers Insurance Open happening. It starts on Wednesday, mind you, because, and this is the PGA Tour, they're so wise, they don't want to compete with the AFC and NFC championship games that are taking place on Sunday. So this tournament will begin on Wednesday and it will end on Saturday. With that being said, we like to call this our par 3. What are the 3 plays you have coming into this tournament, Tyler?
Yeah, I got a couple of top 10s and an outright winner. Anita, laying 190 on Jon Rahm to finish inside the top 10 may seem like a foolish, silly bet. But could you tell me the last time Jon Rahm entered a golf tournament and didn't finish inside the top 10? Because I can't. It hasn't happened in months. This guy is an absolute machine. All he does is win, like last week at PGA West and the American Express, or finish inside the top 10, if not the top 5. So I don't love laying 190 in golf. But right now, few things in the entire sports betting world are as safe as betting Jon Rahm to finish inside the top 10. The guy is an absolute stud. I think Xander Schauffele showed us this week that he is back coming off of that back injury. We saw him hole out for Albatross. That's a double eagle, 2 on a par 5. He finished inside the top 5 at the American Express. So a top 10 at plus 125 for one of the best golfers in the world who has had great success at this event, just like Jon Rahm has had. I'll rely on course history, I'll rely on recent form, and I like that price to finish inside the top 10 at plus 125. And then another golfer, you can chop it up other ways, but I'm going to give you the outright price because I think Jason Day has a shot and is giving some decent value to be the outright winner. Now, you can go top 10, you can give him some head-to-heads, but I like the value on Day being a good betting value this week. He has tremendous course history here. We know Day for the last couple of years has been dealing with injuries, but by all accounts, he's as healthy as he has been in a long time, and he looked really, really good at the American Express, going low a couple of rounds. At this course, at Riviera, you want to be able to have a short game that works. You want to be able to have distance off the tee and long iron play, and that's what Jason Day has. So I like the odds. Shop around. I think you can find 25, 28 there on Jason Day in the market, but I think he's a good value whichever way you'd like to bet the Aussie.
All right, so my three, I'm rolling with Tony Finau at 12-1 to win. And again, listen, I know John Robb has been amazing. Who knows? Maybe he does win this, but I'm looking for some better value here. And I like the way that this course sets up for Tony Finau. It's a great fit. 7 times he's finished in the top 25 in 8 starts on this track. And he's long off the tee. He's great with his irons. He's great around the greens. So 12-1, I'm looking for Tony Finau to possibly pull out a win. To finish in the top 10, give me some Willie Z. If you look back last week at the American Express, he shot in the 60s all 4 rounds. So you know his game is on point. He's coming in really focused. Again, another guy who, this is a great fit, this course, to his game. He always excels on some of the most difficult courses on tour, and this is one of them. And let's not forget, he lost in a playoff to Luke List here last year. So I do believe he's going to come in ready to rip it and grip it and go. And last but not least, give me top 20 with Max Homa. He's another guy. He's got the driving distance. He's top 25 in driving accuracy on tour. And he's a Cali guy. He's got 5 wins on tour, Tyler, and 3 of those 5, yep, you guessed it, took place in California. So Max Homa to finish in the top 20, Willie Z to finish in the top 10, and Tony Finau to win this bad boy. Tyler, thank you so much. Really appreciate you joining us on Bet.
Yeah, before I do get out of here, I love the picks that you gave there. I'm going to have a daily fantasy lineup. I know we're in the same league, and I might steal some of those names that you threw out there. I said Riviera as the course they're playing, thinking of the Genesis a couple of weeks from now in February, of course. Farmers Insurance at Torrey Pines South, of course, the famous Torrey Pines. So I just want to make sure I corrected where this course or this tournament's being played. Not quite to Riviera in SoCal yet. They'll be at Torrey Pines.
And don't forget, it's the North and the South course, so another tournament where guys are going to be playing on 2 separate courses.
Good point.
Tyler, I'm going to see you at 6
Anita,
o'clock
the Chiefs
on Daily Wager. Make sure that everybody tunes into that on ESPN 2. All right, so we're going to do a deep dive into this Kansas City Cincinnati Bengals matchup. Ben Baby's going to join us momentarily, but first, Adam Teicher, who covers the Kansas City Chiefs, with a little insight on what's going on with Patrick Mahomes. Let's find out.
Anita, the Chiefs aren't certain whether Patrick Mahomes can play in Sunday's AFC Championship game or how effective he could be. The Chiefs don't begin their practice week until Wednesday, and Coach Andy Reid wasn't certain whether Mahomes could practice then or how much he could do. He did say it was possible Mahomes could play on Sunday without practicing all week. Mahomes' mobility and his style of play changed dramatically after the injury in last week's game against Jacksonville. He threw 113 passes outside the pocket in the regular season to lead the league, but threw no such passes against the Jaguars after the injury. Reid said he expected the Bengals to come after Mahomes with extra pressure if he plays on Sunday, but said the Chiefs would account for that in their protection plans.
Adam, thank you so much. We bring in Ben Baby, who covers the Cincinnati Bengals. And Ben, deja vu, man, right? Like, here we are again. Bengals heading to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. And wouldn't you know it, they're underdogs. What's been the initial reaction to having to go back to Kansas City yet again for an AFC Championship game?
Yeah, Anita, when the Bengals saw the draw after the regular season, they knew this was likely going to be the path that they have to take. And it's one that's very familiar to them, getting an upset win in the divisional round and going to Arrowhead Stadium to face Kansas City. And we spoke to Bengals coach Zach Taylor earlier today, just a few hours ago, actually, and I asked him about kind of being back in this same position, and he made it sound like last year, there was it kind of maybe not stuck up on them isn't the right word, but definitely it seemed like they were a little ahead of schedule, and this year there was an expectation that this was where they're supposed to be, and you can feel the repetition of doing this for a second straight year will make a big difference. You look at that line, open at, I believe, around 2.5 on those Caesars Sportsbooks odds, down to as low as 1. And that shows you that this Bengals team, there's a lot of confidence even early in the week that they will be able to not maybe be the underdog for much longer and maybe defend their status as AFC champions.
Ben Baby dropping knowledge with the odds makers. I love it. let's talk about this Cincinnati Bengals offensive line. There was so much talk heading into this last matchup about the offensive line and another injury to Williams. But, man, Joe Burrow stayed clean. They couldn't get to him. What's the latest about the offensive line? Any of these starting offensive linemen returning for this matchup against Kansas City?
Yeah, Anita, that's going to be the big thing to watch as we go through this week. Left tackle Jonah Williams, right guard Alex Kappa. Those will be the guys who will be eligible to return. You know, I asked Zach Taylor about that earlier, and he said that they're making progress and said they'll kind of see how the week plays out. You know, we saw Jonah Williams in the locker room last week, was walking without any movements, which, you know, we'll see how that translates into the practice schedule this week. And Alex Kappa seemed to be moving around better than he has since he suffered that ankle injury in Week 18 against the Ravens. But if the Bengals can't get them back, I thought it was interesting that Taylor made it a point when asked about if the game against Buffalo gave that offensive line confidence. Taylor said that that was basically an external narrative and that inside the building, there was no question about the ability for the reserves to come in and play well. And we saw what they were able to do against Buffalo. So they feel like even if they don't get their starters back, they should be in good position against Kansas City.
Ben, we just heard from Adam, update with Patrick Mahomes and that ankle issue. If it's going to be a problem, obviously their offensive game plan is going to have to change. What are the Cincinnati Bengals defensive players saying about Patrick Mahomes' ankle injury, and how do they anticipate to possibly exploit that?
You know, I asked Lou Anarumo about that, their defensive coordinator. He's beaten Patrick Mahomes 3 times, just coming off a win against Josh Allen. And Lou probably said it best. He said, I don't care if Patrick Mahomes is on 2 legs, 1 leg, whatever the case is, they know that he's going to be a great quarterback. And even if he's not at 100%, this team has the utmost respect for what Mahomes can do. They have seen him so much over these last couple of years, you know, playing them 3 times and I believe about less than a span of 365 days. You know, Anarumo equated it when I asked him about it, almost like a divisional opponent, you know, given the amount of times they face Kansas City. They know what to expect. We spoke to Bengals cornerback Cam Taylor-Britt. He stressed that as well, and that even if Mahomes is hurt, they are going to be preparing as if he will be 100%.
All right, Ben, not to throw gas on the fire, but just out of curiosity, do you know if the NFL issued any of those refunds that Joe Burrow mentioned about in that post-game interview?
Anita, it wasn't just Joe Burrow. It was Tyler Boyd. It was Hayden Hurst. It was Zach Taylor. It was about anybody who walked up that tunnel in Buffalo who let everybody know that if you got tickets for that game, you might want to check those bank accounts and credit card statements for those refunds. And I checked that statement that the league put out when they said they had more than 50,000 tickets sold for that neutral site game. If it happened, they said if it didn't, then you were going to get that refund automatically. So anybody that bought those tickets should have their money back. And Zach Taylor empathized for those who made plans to go to Buffalo and go to Atlanta, to see Buffalo play Kansas City. He apologized for screwing up everybody's plans. Unfortunately, Taylor said, essentially, you're going to have to watch Cincinnati play Kansas City again in the AFC title game.
Yep, sign me up. I'm in. I want to watch it. Ben, thank you so much for joining us. Great insight. Appreciate you. It's my turn now to break down this game. I know it's Monday. It's early. But man, hashtag run, don't walk. Get to that window right now. You telling me I get the big Cats with a point? Kansas City's favored by 1. The over-under's at 47. Listen, I'm a really big believer. I love teams that are coming into a postseason hot. And let's be honest, I don't feel that there's been a hotter team than Joe Burrow and these big Cats, the Cincinnati Bengals. 242 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions this past weekend. Getting the ball out under 2.5 seconds and getting it out accurately. Jamar Chase in 3 games, against the Kansas City Chiefs, over 400 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. So he's going to have a really favorable matchup, especially against Watson and McDuffie. And also defensively, not enough is talked about this Cincinnati Bengals defense. Top top 5 defense total, top 5 defense against the run. So I think Kansas City is going to have a difficult time. And when it comes to Patrick Mahomes, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that ankle is going to be a nuisance for him. He has 100 this season, 183 designated plays where Andy Reid has moved him out of the pocket. That's all going to change if that ankle is an issue. He's going to have to stay in the pocket. And here's another thing. Kansas City plays a lot of zone defense. Patrick Mahomes is actually better against man coverage than zone. So I think all the stars align properly for the Big Cats. I like Cincinnati, and I'll take them with the point. All right, let's turn our attention to the NFC and the Eagles going up against the 49ers. Tim McManus joins us now. He does a phenomenal job covering the Eagles. So, Tim, very interesting, right? You've got an Eagles team who pretty much, cakewalked the second half, fourth quarter against the Giants because they pretty much blew them out. Meanwhile, the 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys, that was a heavyweight bout. A lot more physicality in that game. What are the Eagles saying about Hurts and his shoulder and how fresh and spry, more spry, I think they're going to be in this matchup against the 49ers?
We're starting to hear a common refrain from Jalen Hurts. Good enough, Anita, is the way that he responds when asked how that shoulder was. He said that after the Giants win, just as he did the last Giants win in the regular season finale. Now, he told the Fox broadcast beforehand that he was far from 100%, and that lines up with our reporting. He's still dealing with the SC joint sprain in that right shoulder, and the expectation is he's probably going to be feeling that to some degree the rest of the way here. But you can see in that game that he was very effective, and the 6 designed runs in the first half tell you all you need to know about the way that the Eagles are feeling about how they can deploy him, because they only had 1 design run the entire game against New York in that regular season finale. So he's obviously feeling better. He's 1 more week removed from having that injury on December 18th, and the hope is that he continues to trend upward. But he's going to be going up against a very physical defense, as they know, and so that's something you have to think about. But overall, speaking with Coach Nick Sirianni today, feeling very good about the state of the Eagles' health. Lane Johnson got through. He's dealing with the adductor tear in his groin, but was able to make it through that Giants game. That was good news for them, and overall, they're in a pretty good spot, and that includes Jalen Hurts, who got out of that one clean.
So, Tim, the game plan for the Giants was to get after Hurts, right? They couldn't even sniff him. They didn't even know what cologne he was wearing on Saturday night. But what they were able to do is run the football effectively. 268 yards. Miles Sanders was a complete beast. 3 rushing touchdowns. But as we know, the 49ers defense against the run, much better than the Giants. With that being said, what are their expectations about how effectively they are going to run the football against the 49ers?
Yeah, talking with Sirianni today, the respect that he has for Niners defensive coordinator DeMeco Ryans just came through the screen. And the way that he was praising him was saying, like, you know how I know a good coach? It's when their players are selling out for them. And he said that's what really pops off the tape, is you can just tell, that the schemes might not be the most exotic. It's kind of similar to Phillies, where they play a decent amount of zone. They don't blitz a lot. But, man, obviously the personnel that they have on all 3 levels for the Niners is super impressive. But also the way that the players play for DeMeco Ryans is something that stands out. They know it's going to be very physical. They know that it's not going to be the same way, the same level of resistance that New York showed them. They know that they're in a dogfight. And so what Sirianni said is, it's good on good, and that's the way that it should be for an NFC championship game. But they're going to have to be on it in order to get done what they need to get done in this game.
Tim, on the offensive side of the ball, it's like a Swiss Army knife when it comes to the 49ers, right? You got C-Mac, Debo, Kittle, Ayuk. Pick your poison in that regard. So with that being said, what challenges do you feel are the Eagles expecting for them defensively, having to go up against an offense that has so many weapons?
Yeah, let's bring it back to coaching. I mean, Kyle Shanahan and the way that he schemes up this offense is a big challenge, and something that Sirianni also hit on today, as was the unique playmakers, the way that he called it, with Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle. It's not something that they run up against every single week, and it's also a strong offensive line that they're operating behind. And so they recognize, just how disciplined they have to be. And, I think the other thing for this team is that they feel good about their personnel matching up against pretty much anybody. This is the number one passing defense in the league, number one in sacks. They have the front seven to be able to apply pressure on Brock Purdy. And it looks like they have the defensive front to get it done against what's obviously a pretty good rush offense for the 49ers. I mean, if you just think of the depth that they have along the defensive front, whether it's Linval Joseph and Jordan Davis as kind of like the big space eaters in the middle of that, and the other two defensive tackles, with Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox, not bad. So they're able to kind of roll bodies in there without having any kind of sharp drop-off. That has come in so handy for this group over the course of the year, because that's a lot of what the NFL is like trying to, wear down the opposing team. And once you get into the backups, really take advantage. And there's just very little drop off for this group. It's deep, it's talented on all three levels. And so even though this is obviously a very respectable offense that's coming in, the defense is going to be feeling up for the challenge.
Tim, thank you so much. Appreciate your insight as always. So how am I playing this game? Again, it is Monday, but you've got an Eagles team now. They're favored by 2.5. I'm going to run to this window as well. The over-under is 45.5. I've got a slight play towards the under because we're talking about two exceptional defenses and one rookie quarterback who's going to have to go up against the Eagles on the road. But I like the Eagles here, and I like them at 2.5. I'm going to grab them now just in case this line jumps up to 3, maybe 3.5 by kickoff. You want to pay attention to the news with Christian McCaffrey because he did have a calf injury in that Dallas game. So keep an eye on that. Hopefully it's nothing serious because you want all the stars on the field this weekend. But you gotta really commend the offensive line, how they were able to protect Jalen Hurts against a Giants team that I knew they were coming in to try to get to Jalen Hurts, and they couldn't even get 5 feet next to him. So you got to commend the offensive line. And one thing about the Philadelphia Eagles, what they do so well is pick your poison. They can beat you in the air, they can beat you on the ground. And I've got some concerns now about Brock Purdy. We saw the rookie quarterback come out against that Dallas Cowboys team, and it doesn't get any easier for him against the Philadelphia Eagles, who, by the way, this will be their 4th home game. They have not left Philadelphia. They have not left Philadelphia since Christmas Eve, and so that's an advantage as well. Before we let you go, I'm going to give you 2 of my favorite NBA plays on the slate for tonight. The first is the Chicago Bulls going up against the Hawks. They're favored by 1. They're 6-2 against the spread their last 8 games, and they're 6-1 against the spread with 3 days rest. They were in Paris. They beat Detroit. So this is only their 3rd game in 8 nights. So they are rested, ready to go. One of the best defenses in top 5 in the NBA. And get this, a 72% cover rate against the spread off of a win. And again, they did beat Detroit in Paris. Meanwhile, the Hawks, this is their 5th game in 8 nights as well. All right, my other game, I like the Kings getting the 1.5 against the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies, this will be a second of a back-to-back. They lost to the Suns. So will they rest some players tonight? Possibly. I think they might. The Kings, defense, top 3 in eliminating points off of transition and, of course, fast breaks. And that's what Memphis likes to do, and that's how they score a lot of their points. So defensively, the Kings match up really well against this Memphis team. Also, they're great at eliminating second chance shots defensively, and they're shooting 49% from the field. So again, before I let you go, my 2 NBA games for tonight, the Bulls -1 against the Hawks, and the Kings +1.5 against the Grizzlies. Thank you so much for tuning in to Bet Tonight. We've got you ready. I know, again, it's Monday. We're going to be talking about these 2 AFC and NFC championship games throughout the week, so stay tuned to Bet. And we'll be on Daily Wager later on tonight, 6 p.m. on ESPN2. I'll see you there.